Hi, I'm Gigi Duban, and on this episode of Alabama Inc., we look at two paths to a job: college, trade school. Who comes out on top? And Terry Brewer talks with Tina Payne, whose pottery has gone from Tannehill State Park all the way to the Bellagio in Vegas. And correspondent Josh Sneed finds out exactly what dogs do all day in doggy daycare. All that's coming up on Alabama Inc. Believe it or not, most young adults in this country don't go to a four-year college. The reason? Money. In fact, one survey showed 75% of Americans said college is just too expensive. But if you ask most college students, they'll tell you it's totally worth it. Then again, college isn't for everyone, and actually there are some pretty decent alternatives out there.
Let's say 19 3/4.
When you get close to high school graduation, it's sort of expected. You're gonna go to college, especially if your parents went and their parents went and all your friends are going. That was how Stephen Williams ended up there.
Actually attended the University of Alabama for 2 years. It was just a generic business degree, and I wasn't incredibly enthusiastic about it. I was there because that was the thing to do after high school. I just chose something because I had to choose something to major in.
Didn't really enjoy it?
Not particularly. I was always more intrigued by something like anthropology, but it's pretty difficult to make a living.
He heard about this electrical school in Birmingham called the Birmingham Electrical Joint Apprenticeship Training Center. It's a 5-year program. Up front, they pay for everything. He pays them back with a couple of years of labor. By the time he was in his 3rd year, he was pulling in a school teacher's salary.
In the over 4 years that I've been in the program, I think I've been out of work for a month, maybe a month and a week. I haven't interviewed for a job in, that entire time. I never have to worry about it. If I'm ever laid off, I just sit at home and wait for someone to find me a job.
My parents, they couldn't pay for me to just go to school. I got into school. I was a good student. I had a 3.1 GPA coming out of Vestavia. I had 27 on my ACT. And I got in Alabama. I could have went, but when I came out, I would have owed, 3 times what, it took to go to school with student loans. So opposed to me owing them $40,000 already for the first year, I've almost made that with this job and my part-time job just from 1 year of work. All my friends are at Alabama, doing fraternity thing, having a great time, and I'm at a construction site, it's a hard job. It's not really for the weak, but it pays off, it really does. You can make a career out of it, and you can support a family off of it.
At least in my particular group of friends, I had 2 that I was at the University of Alabama with who went on to complete degrees in chemical and mechanical engineering, respectively. And they were both fortunate enough to find jobs in those fields, and they're doing great. They certainly don't think any less of me for being an electrician. If nothing else, that skill makes me a more valuable person in everyday life, because they're certainly not going to try to repair their own air conditioner or hang a ceiling fan. There's the obvious immediate payoff of being paid to go to work and get your on-the-job training. You know, definitely an investment for the future, because if you do enjoy the work, you know it's what you're going to do for the rest of your life.
And that's the key. Not only do these guys make good money, at least $40,000 to $50,000 a year to start, but they actually enjoy what they do. Now, there was a time when you can go to college and have no idea where you wanted to be, but experts say those days are over.
We're in a time in our society, in our economy, where we just can't afford to kind of amble around mindlessly. You know, so even if you don't have it all figured out in terms of what exact job and where you want that job to be 5 or 10 years from now, you have to have some sort of ambition and some sort of direction and really work hard towards getting the answers to those questions. They really have to be careful to pick the right debt vehicle. For example, we've got lots of students who cover their tuition or their expenses using credit cards, and that really ought to be the last resort. Lots of students are coming out of college with credit card debt in the tens of thousands. Some students, in fact, we're finding a lot of students are coming to college already with a credit card with a minimal balance on it, but they're graduating with several thousands.
So what do? How do you pay for college without going broke? I mean, there are the usual student loans and grants, and then there are people like Akia Moore, who chose all of the above and then some.
Here I work with membership, and it's basically starting memberships. I cancel memberships. If anybody wants to take classes, I set that up here, and it's just basically taking calls and just helping out elsewhere.
And about how many hours a week are you here?
It just depends, because a lot of times it's like at least, I would say like 15, at least.
At least 15.
At least.
And there's a restaurant job?
Yep.
Where's that?
On 280.
280. About how many hours a week do you spend there?
Probably about the same. Like when I'm not here or in class, I'm there.
And do you sleep?
Yeah. I wouldn't be here today. I'd be on the floor somewhere.
She started off majoring in biology, and then she decided to switch over to healthcare management. That way she figured she'd have more options. If you didn't work these two jobs, I mean, is that helping to fund also?
Yeah, like a lot of stuff is like, more so like I get help from my mom, but a lot of it's like, this is like helping like her, because I know my mom has other stuff to do. So it's like this stuff is like money like that she doesn't have to worry about if I'm giving her this. So yes, not so bad. It's just like, it's something that I have to do if I want to get somewhere, so not so bad.
She's thinking about med school, but you know what that means. More loans and more debt.
I don't know, I've thought about going to like the military, but it's like, it has its ups and downs, so I've thought about it.
You've thought about enrolling in the service. Because why?
It's, technically not a way out, but, school is paid for, like a certain amount of school is paid for, and that's something that I won't have to worry about.
So if there's one lesson to be learned from all this, it's that being a lifelong learner can cost you big time. It pays to have a little more focus these days, because that part-time summer job probably isn't going to cut it. Coming up next on Alabama Inc.
I had $3,000 to start. I had squirreled away $20 at a time. Oh wow, I can do this.
Some people say opportunity is when luck and preparation come together, and it doesn't hurt if you love what you're doing at the same time. Tina Payne certainly understands that. She's taken her love of pottery from Alabama to some of the finest restaurants in the world. Tell me a little bit about your background, how you got to the point where you were, well, first, your interest in pottery to begin with, and then how you got to a point where it was your full-time business.
It's started in high school, and we moved to Homewood from a lower income class community. And when the professor from Sanford came, Lowell Van, and demonstrated pottery in our art class, I mean, the minute I saw that clay move in his hands, I just knew I had to do it. It was just so fascinating. If you've ever watched anybody throw a pot, just to watch that clay move, I mean, it just evolves from this lump of clay into a beautiful vessel right in front of your eyes. And I think that immediate gratification appealed to me significantly because I could see, immediate results of what I'm doing and what happened and based on my influence. And it was a learning process. But Dad made my first potter's wheel for me out of an old washing machine motor. And he put it together, and it had 2 speeds. It was fast and faster, and you had to stop and change the pulley in between. And it wasn't, true or anything. So when I got to school, to Montevallo, and got on a real potter's wheel, it was like, oh wow, I can do this.
So you're doing this out of your home, and then you start working. So you go to this trade show, the Culinary American Culinary Association.
Right.
What happens at that point?
I had $3,000 to start. I had squirreled away $20 at a time, and that's all I had to start. So here I am. I got this trade show. It is expensive.
Yeah.
And I got to travel there, and I got to stay there, and we got enough sales that first show to go on and make more product and go to the next show. And so all throughout the convention center, we loaned out the product and put a stack of cards next to it.
Smart.
Well, they don't let you do that anymore. They'll stop you at the door. But
they didn't then.
No,
until
they
you
didn't
did it,
then.
and then
Yeah, and somehow or another, I guess it's the 3 women walking through this male-dominated trade show. A rep found me and said, "This is great and wonderful, but can you make 5,000?" And I thought it was hypothetical. Who wants 5,000 pots? And I said, well, I'll find a way. And I'm secretly counting how many people I know that have kilns. But he took it to Las Vegas and he sold it to the Bellagio.
So how many part-time, full-time employees do you have?
There's 10 of us.
Okay. Yeah. You guys do a lot for 10 people.
We do, and we work all the time. We work weekends. We'll come up and flip the kilns on the weekends, or I'll come in at nighttime and finish trimming or do what has to be done. Because if we don't do it, it's not going to get done.
Right. Tina Payne has gone from being an artist to running a business, but she still keeps her hands in the product, literally.
Chefs will send me either their product or pictures of their product and say, this is what I'm using now, and leave me to interpret. And we know the restaurant, a lot of times I'll go and visit with the chefs and eat in the restaurant and get a feel of it. So I'm always doing original design. I get to do the fun part. And once I make the original design, and that's something else that goes into the design, is you have to think of the production of that piece. And how am I going to get it to where I can make it fast? And it's not all time-consuming, sculptural. So that's part of the design processes that I build in, is knowing at what points am I going to hand off this piece and who's going to be doing this part of it and who's going to be doing this part. And I am out there every day, and I am out there working side by side with them.
You're doing very large volume of things, but you're still a small business. That seems to be what separates the people who can do it from the people who can't.
And it's not a matter of me sitting here and saying, yes, I can do this. It's a matter of doing it and it happening along the way. Because I didn't know any of this stuff when I started. I didn't know any of this stuff. I had no idea what was in front of me, but I knew I could do this. And in fact, my husband asked me before all this started, and I can still remember the time he said, why? Why do you want to do this? And I said, because I can. I know I can, and I know if I don't do it, I'm shortchanging myself.
I know the restaurant industry that's a big part of your business, but what else? We
do sell to, we don't sell to big business. I sell to mom and pops. I'm not going to sell to Neiman. I'm not going to sell to Macy's, and we have been approached by them. But I like the mom and pop businesses, like the Cook Store in Mountain Brook, and it's real people, and they have real lives and real struggles, and they're buying product to sell. So they're out there for me, but I'm there for them too.
what I love is you've got, you know, your pottery in these exclusive locations all over the country, other places in the world, you know, and then you've still got Alabama and Auburn.
Football is such a huge part of Alabamians' life, and we're fixated one way or the other. And I thought, well, this would be a great market. I don't want it to look like everything else. It's a little bit low key. It's not an in-your-face Auburn or Alabama product. It's not shouting and waving a flag, but I still support my school.
Have you eaten in most of the restaurants where you're, and I bet that's just
it's a
to
great
see
perk.
your product there
You
with
get
that food
ear
on
to ear
it.
grin, and you see other people interacting with it and go, wow. I mean, like at the Beau Rivage is another MGM property. We do Gia, the restaurant, and that's a really cool place to go, and you sit down. Everything in Gia is ours, and to see people when it's sit down in front of it, the reaction is just way cool. It's just way cool. One person cannot do it all. Yes, I can have ideas, but the people that help me are just amazing. They're just so cool to come in and follow my idea and say, yeah, we're in this with you. We're going to help you do this, and we're going to make it work. And just the attitude of the people that work here with me. And yes, I try to have a good workplace, and I try to have a relaxed, enjoyable atmosphere, but you still have to have that something inside the people that help me, and they're just amazing.
Coming up next on Alabama Inc.
Don't drink that. He was just laying in here, man.
Daycare for kids? Well, that's probably something you've got to do. Daycare for dogs? Now that's a splurge. Josh Sneed delves into the world of doggy daycare during his trip to Dog Days of Birmingham.
All right, so I have 2 dogs. I love them to death. I'd do anything for them. But when I leave the house, I put them in a crate, which is something I thought all dog owners do in some form or another. But not necessarily. Melinda Carter is also a dog owner, but when she goes to work, she takes her dogs to daycare, doggy daycare. She loves her dog Parker so much that she takes him to Dog Days of Birmingham. So on today's segment of People Pay for That, we look at the world of the pampered dog and make me feel like a horrible dog owner. Okay, so Melinda, why don't you tell me about Parker?
Well, I've had Parker for about 5.5 years now. He's a rescue. He's a Boxer Bull Mastiff mix.
Bull Mastiffs can be huge, right?
Yes, he's a big boy.
What do you look for in a place that you're gonna leave your dog?
Well, probably the most important thing is just the love that the staff has for my dog. I want him to be treated like I treat him at home. I want him to feel comfortable there. And the staff is actually really good at kind of understanding him and knowing like what mood he's in and where he wants to be.
Wow.
So they do a great job of taking care of him.
All right, so Mr. Johnson, how long have you guys been here?
This September will be 2 years we've been in this facility.
Okay, 2 years. So what'd you do before you came?
Before this, surprisingly say, I was middle management in a software development company. I was the techie. There's 3 things that we do here. One is daycare, one is boarding, and one is grooming. We sell a full day of daycare, starts at 7 a.m. and we close at 6 p.m. So your dog could be here for 11 hours. Hey, Blue. For boarding, leaving with a family member is still probably number 1, but that's not always available. There's just so many dogs. I've talked to some vets that in Thanksgiving they'll have 140 dogs boarding, and they're maxed out, and we'll get some of their overflow. So it's just so many dogs, it's enough to go around. It's not a problem.
I think we're about to round second base here. This is... All right.
Okay, let's see if you can name all the dogs in here.
All right, Bruno, Blue, Milo, Addie, Buddy, AJ, Oscar, Georgia, Ripley, Sophie, Teddy, and Mary.
Now, Dog Days sells their services and packages, so you can get 20 full days of daycare for $420, and overnight cageless boarding for $42. But if you're a dog owner like Melinda, that peace of mind seems worth it.
When you have a dog, especially when you have a younger dog that needs a lot of exercise, it's an amazing way for them to get that exercise that they need when you're away from home every day during, work hours. Then you don't have to, run them for an hour when you get home from work after a long day.
Here's where the grooming's going on.
This is the turbo dryer, huh? You're not kidding. You're not kidding. All right. It's like going through the last part of the car wash.
If you think the dogs just lay around all day, well, you should come upstairs. Check out the roof.
You're free. Oh, yeah. Oh.
So this is the roof. This is where they come and play.
Dog sucker. Dog sucker. Oh. Go. Don't drink that. He was just laying in here, man. Come on, brother. Oh, you're stronger than me. This is embarrassing. I can't not get this away from me. I'm just letting you win to build confidence. Don't tell anybody, okay? Please don't tell anybody. Yeah. All right, guys. You look good. You look refreshed. Nothing like a rooftop pool. Well, Jim, I'm wet. I smell like dogs.
You smell like dogs. You bathed the dogs.
Yeah.
You played with dogs. So now you know all there is to know about taking care of dogs.
I appreciate you showing us around.
You're quite welcome.
All right,
Thanks for coming.
All right.
That's our show for this week. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Check out the stories we're working on and tell us what you think. I'm Gigi Duban, and we'll see you next time on Alabama Ink.